Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing our astrology survival guide for Virgo season. I hope you guys are excited. I'm super pumped for this season. If you're new here, this is something I do every time we enter a new sun sign, kind of just break down everything there is to know about Virgo, crystals you can use for enhancing the energy, rituals you can do, Glamour Magic of course, and just all around information about the sign and how you can use it regardless of where it's at for you. So if you're new here, do make sure to subscribe and like if you like this video, and yeah, let's just get started. So I always explain why it's so important for us to lean into the energy of the current season, because I don't know if you've been watching since the start of this year or if this is your first episode, but basically the reason that I believe this is so important is because we are all affected by what's happening in the stars. And I mean, we see this with every time Mercury's in retrograde, like it's a whole thing, like it's a whole deal. Any transits, personal or, collective, like there's so much that goes on that affects us. And same thing with like Mercury in retrograde, for example. When you're aware of its presence, you're able to better handle the situations that might be present. So this will be very individual per person because it is so vague, it's just Virgo energy is going to be very heightened. So this is where I tell you to look at your birth chart. I don't like CoStar. You can use whatever you like, but I don't think CoStar is good because if you don't have what they deem as like important planets in the sign of Virgo, it won't even tell you which house that's in. So for me, it wouldn't even tell me I had Virgo because the only thing I have in Virgo is my North Node, which CoStar doesn't even talk about, which is so crazy. But if you go to astro.com, enter your information, you can get a birth wheel, a natal chart. There are other websites, but that's what I use. And that way you can see where Virgo is in your chart, regardless of if you have a ton of planets there or nothing. And the two things that are very, very important is which house Virgo is in for you. It'll be in one of the 12 houses, and I'll put my little infographic here that I love that kind of briefly explains a bit about the significance of each house. Because these are the themes that are going to be present for you. Of course, check out if you've got any planets or any fun things happening in Virgo. For me, this is exciting because this is my North Node, right? Like what I'm supposed to be striving for in life, what's going to bring me happiness and success. So I hope this is a good month. But if you have Virgo in your Mercury, or if you have Mercury in your Virgo, then those themes of communication and intellect and thinking and, that's already at home in that, with Virgo and Mercury, that's a very comfortable placement, so that's already good, but those are some themes that'll also come up. If you want to take it one step further, if you're like, this is easy, I'm an astrology pro, go ahead and check out your 6th house, because this is the house that Virgo rules. So even though you might not have Virgo in your 6th house, Virgo is still ruling that house just by nature. So if you've got Leo in your 6th house, or you've got your Venus in your 6th house, those are all things that will be prevalent during this time. So those are the 3 things I recommend looking at to get a bit more of a personalized approach to what you can expect this month. The dates are August 22nd through September 22nd. So they kind of vary by like year. Sometimes it's like the 22nd or the 23rd, but this year I do believe it's August 22nd to September 22nd. Like I said, it rules the 6th house, which is the house of health, organization, fitness, all the things that are Virgo-y, which we'll get into in a second. It is an earth sign, so as you guys probably know, earth signs are very grounded. They're very money thinking. They are represented by the pentacles, the suit of pentacles in the tarot. All that good, earthly vibes. The symbol for Virgo is the Virgin, and this is kind of been lost in translation for however long we've been here. It more so represents sovereignty and wholeness of the self. So it's not like a weird purity thing at all. It is like autonomy, which I think is very empowering. It is also ruled by Mercury, the planet of communication and intellect. So again, that thinking, that really pondering and being in charge is all traits that we'll see within Virgo. And it's also considered a feminine sign, regardless of your gender identity. The feminine is more so like the yin energies, so it's It's the flowing, it's the giving, it's the creating, rather than the doing and the taking and the analytical. Which is interesting though, because I do think Virgo is kind of a bit masculine. So I definitely think it's like the most masculine of the feminine signs, but I digress. A bit about the sign of Virgo and what we see in people with strong placements. They are organized, they are leaders, they are incredibly hardworking, and they've got their shit together, or at least they act like they do. And that's something so funny that just through my own research I've seen. It's on the outside, Virgos seem so perfect and like they've got everything together and they're doing so good, but they're just like people, like they're just like everyone else, you know, they struggle, and if anything, they are very, very hard on themselves because they are such strong perfectionists oftentimes. And so while they do project that sometimes on other people, and really that comes from an encouraging place, they are very hard on themselves. So that's something to keep in mind. And another big thing for them is they are all about giving and being of service to others. So even though they might seem a bit bossy sometimes, a bit nitpicky, it's all for the interest of other people. It's rarely coming from a selfish point. I always like to mention colors for anyone who likes to work with color magic or incorporating those colors into their glamour magic. And I always like to note, I do look at like the collective vibe, what we all astrologers get color-wise from specific signs, but I also use my own intuition and my own personal attributions, I guess, towards specific signs, because your own intuition and your own perception is really the most important thing when it comes to color magic, glamour magic, anything like that. So gray, yellow, and light blue were all things that I agree with, but it's a pretty like well-respected color scheme for Virgos. I also think of green and sometimes like a light pink, a lot more of those softer and feminine colors, but I definitely agree with the gray, maybe not so much the gray, but I definitely agree with the yellow and the light blue. I think a lot of pastels, and I also can see a bit of like a wheat harvest field amber yellow color, because looking at like where Virgo season sits up here in the northern hemisphere, we just had Lunasa, we're going into Mabon soon, so we are really at the harvest season. Before I get into the rituals and how you can bring Virgo into your day-to-day life, I always like to let us take a moment and reflect on the past season, which was Leo season, and see how that influences us and jumpstarts us into this next cycle. Because I believe that there is a storyline, like there is a theme that runs throughout each of the 12 signs, and they lead us to the next one, and we can always take something from the past sign and bring it into this next one. So looking back, Leo season, that was all about getting out of our shell and feeling what it feels like to be in the spotlight, to be empowered by others and receiving praise and being openly creative and, you know, all the good Leo energy, which I'm gonna say I had so much fun in Leo season. I had a blast. It was so reinvigorating for me creatively. It was nice to have a selfish moment. It was nice to not be afraid or uncomfortable of the limelight. It was really a good time. But now we are entering the season of Virgo, and so what that means for us is that we're gonna take what we've learned from that and we're gonna be happy with our time in the spotlight. And now it's time for us to ask, what can we do for others? It got really cloudy in here and now it looks dark, but it's kind of like edgy lighting. I'm kind of a fan of it. But it's time to, like I said, it's how can we be of service to the world and to our communities? For example, like me personally, Leo's in my 5th house, Virgo is in my 6th house. So they're happy. They're happy in their homes. I did a lot of like expression, I guess, during Leo season. I did a lot of writing and creating, and now I'm I can already feel myself shifting into the mindset of like, how can I take my creations and turn them on their heads and make them help society. I'm a lot in the mindset of, especially for my YouTube, I was telling my Patreon loves at my Q&A this past week, I was like, I'm really wanting to start talking about some more controversial subjects maybe, and like lots of like social, empowerment, women's empowerment, just really kind of stepping up and helping others. So it's kind of that shifting, and it'll be totally different for everybody because it does, like I said, depends on your houses and if you've got any planets happening there. I think the reason I'm already feeling it is probably because I do have a very strong placement in Virgo, my North Node. So it's a big deal. So I'm feeling it already. But if you've got no planets, you're probably just breezing. You're gonna have a good time, just chilling, really working on whatever aspects are in your whatever house Virgo is in. Another important question to ask yourself is, how can we take charge of our mental and physical health? Because health is an important part of Virgo. It is, the sixth house rules our health, and Virgos are known for being very health conscious and very practical. So if we've been slacking, or if we've been, maybe not treating our bodies as well as we should, physically or mentally, now is a really good time to really get into that. And lastly, what important duties in our lives have we been slacking on? Because again, Virgo is very well put together. They've got their lists, they've decided what they need to do, and they're ready to take that action. So if there's anything in our lives that we've been really slacking on or procrastinating or putting off, this is a really great time for us to really just jump in and get it done. So now, how can we bring this Virgo energy into our day-to-day lives? This is my favorite part. My first tip or ritual idea for you is to clean and organize your environment for a more productive workspace. And I know this might not sound super exciting to you, but just wait till that Virgo energy sets in and you're gonna be really feeling good. Me and my husband just recently read Marie Kondo's book about tidying, and so we're actively going through everything we own and decluttering. And we started this last month, so we're not quite in line with Virgo season, but we're still working on it into Virgo season. If you need a push to do so, I think the book was really interesting. I do believe, at least for me, I definitely fall into that cluttered space equals cluttered mind. If I'm gonna do work, I can't have a cluttered environment. And so maybe really feeling into that and just going through your stuff, getting rid of what no longer serves you, cleaning it, making it a ritual. I always feel very good when I'm cleaning and I vacuum and I light a candle or some incense, and the entire energy shifts and you can feel that. And I think you'll feel that more naturally in this Virgo season. And the last note I have for that is clean the physical to help clean the energetic. This can also be very important if you've been feeling in an emotional or a mental slump. I have definitely been there with you guys. If you're feeling just down and not super great, I would highly recommend going through your physical, cleaning it, making it pretty, reorganizing, decorating, I think that can really, really help. My next tip for you guys is to decide on and stick to, that's the keyword, a new healthy habit for the month. And this can be, don't think too much about, I think, especially here in America, when we hear healthy, it's kind of a trigger word for diet culture, which is not at all what I am trying to come off as, because that's not, I don't think that's in line with what I'm trying to say. When I say a healthy habit, it's gonna be individual to you. So I have cut out alcohol, do a daily yoga, eliminate negative self-talk. You don't even have to think about it in the sense of food, but think of it in the sense of consumption. Are we consuming too much social media? Are we not moving our body enough? Are we thinking really bad things to ourselves? These are all things that, I think fit into the healthy habit. So don't tie yourself down to healthy equals diet or clean eating. Obviously, it absolutely can if that's what you feel like you want to do, but if that's not something you feel comfortable diving into, I wrote down these because I think these are things I need to work on. I mean, not cutting out alcohol, I don't really drink at all, but I do know it makes my skin dry and I like to have nice dewy skin. But daily yoga is something I've been working on incorporating. Eliminating self-talk, I think everyone can do that. Spending less time on social media, social media can be so great, but it can be really hard and it can be not a super great you know, it can kind of go into a spiral and you get looped into it for hours, and that's not really great. So those are just some ideas. Definitely brainstorm what you can kind of work with. For example, if your Virgo is in your 10th house of career, think about what healthy habits you can incorporate into your career. If you, you know, are having a weird, like, unhealthy mindset towards your career, or if you're working in a place that doesn't feel satisfying, or maybe your career has to do with something health related, you know, it's just like, just an example, you know? So take into account which houses, what house and which planets you've got going on, and that'll help you to kind of personalize this to your own. My next activity is very exciting. Make it a point to do selfless things regularly. So like I said, Virgo is all about doing things for others and being of service. That's like their key word, is being of service. Some examples: give your friend a surprise tarot reading. If you do tarot, just give your friend a free little tarot reading for fun. Pay it forward in the drive-thru. Speak out about a topic you're passionate about. You know, doing something that is not inherently to benefit you. Doing something that is just for someone else for no reason. Do you know what I mean? So that is just a fun way to kind of really feel that Virgo energy naturally. My next tip is to spend some time in quiet solitude, learning and developing yourself. And I say this specifically because each zodiac sign is connected to a tarot card in the major arcana, and Virgo's is the Hermit. So if we think about the attributes that are connected to the Hermit, this is a person who is, you know, happy to be alone. They are a spiritual learner. They're becoming enlightened, and they're, you know, really pondering things. So it's all about embodying that kind of energy by meditating often, learning, and just expanding your spiritual practice. So it's a quieter time. It's not like how in Leo we were just going off, right? It's a lot more of an introspective time, and a time where we're not thinking about ourselves anymore as the main topic. My next activity is similar to the one before the last one. This is to volunteer somewhere you're passionate about. So the other one I talked about was doing something selfless. Those are just tiny little, you know, every week you do something really nice and selfless for somebody random or a friend. But volunteering can be very, very empowering, and this is obviously a lot larger of a time commitment and an energy commitment. You can volunteer at an animal shelter, a shelter for women and children, which is big Virgo energy just since it is connected to women inherently, or even by donating old clothes. So if you go through your stuff, you organize, you find a bunch of old clothes, instead of selling them, maybe just like donate them. I know lots of women's shelters do take clothes, and obviously there are tons of thrift stores and Goodwills everywhere. So doing something like that is there for, it's more about your community and helping larger quantities of people rather than individual selfless acts. So I know that sounds a little repetitive, but I did want to clarify their like differences. My last ritual or activity tip for you is to choose a project on yourself that you'd like to work on. Virgos really, really love projects, and I feel I'm an Aries, and I feel like Aries are really, really great at brainstorming and planning, but they're not so great at following through. Virgos are great because they plan, they put into actionable steps, and then they do it. And so it's really, really great that they actually get it done. And I'm looking forward to that for me. So choosing a project, planning it out, and doing it. So for example, if you're going through your stuff, like I said, and you're gonna go through your clothes and downsize, that's a project you can definitely plan. If you need a new budgeting system, if you really need to go through your finances, figure out your savings, etc., you know, that is definitely a project that I think we might not always have the energy and the ambition to follow through with. Just those things that are maybe a little bit more tedious or a little bit more, I don't know. It might just be me. I'm a lot of fire and air and water, I guess. I'm not a lot of earth sign. But it's hard for me to follow through with the like practical tasks. So if you're like that, this is a really good time to do those things. I always like to list some crystals for you to meditate on or to carry with you that will amplify Virgo energy. Of course, don't like go out and buy all of these if you don't want to. You can literally just save their picture on your like phone or use it as a desktop screensaver or whatever. You don't have to go out and buy them if you don't want to, but if you do, obviously go ahead. The first crystal is blue sapphire, and this is actually the birthstone for Virgo. So this will help just with harmonious and positive energies, just because it kind of radiates that same Virgo energy. Amazonite is really, really good for Virgos because it increases their mental clarity and all that good Mercury energy. So thinking and communicating, and it just kind of gives way for a clearer mind to be able to do those things. Moss agate is a really good crystal for Virgo energy as well because it has all that grounding and balancing earth energy, but it's also connected to the heart chakra, which I think Virgos need because, as I said, they can be very critical of themselves, and so it's really, really good for bringing in some of that self-love and that softness and sympathy for the self. And likewise, snowflake obsidian is really good because it kind of combats that harsh criticism and negative self-talk. So if you do find yourself falling into that, snowflake obsidian is a really good crystal to combat that. As always, you guys, I make a playlist for each zodiac sign, so I will have the one for Virgo in the description. If you're someone like me and you feel like music is very helpful for getting into a specific vibe or energy, then I think you'll really like it. So I will have that linked below for all the good bad bitch in charge energy. And for my last segment for this video is Glamour Magic. So the first thing I will say is that actually last year I did a Virgo Inspired hair and makeup tutorial. So if you are interested, I will put that here. I will put it in the description box. You can definitely watch that. I still stand by it. It is definitely my personal embodiment of Virgo energy. With that, one of my tips, one of my, I guess, recommendations for Glamour Magic for Virgo energy is to go all natural, go light on the makeup, and really embrace your natural youthfulness. And encourage yourself, allow yourself to wear your natural hair if you're someone who changes their hair up to feel, if they feel like they have to fit a societal standard. I know lots of people change up their hair or their look so that they feel they fit more in with society. So I would highly encourage you to wear your natural hair, wear your natural face, wear whatever you want that feels authentic to you, and really feel into that personal, authentic expression. My counter vibe is to go full professional boss ass bitch, and you know, where I do this sometimes. I have like my cigarette pants, my, you know, fancy pants, my blazers that I wear when I'm really trying to embody that like professional, like I'm a businesswoman energy. So I definitely think that is one that fits the Virgo vibe as well. And my last vibe recommendation would be to play around with softer and feminine energy. So flowy things, white things, light pink. If you're not a super feminine person, if that's something that you'd want to try, I'd recommend it because I think now is a good time. The Virgo energy lends itself to so many different types of expression. Just in this last 5 minutes, I've mentioned the soft and feminine, the badass bitch professional, and the natural youthful, like fully authentic. So, and there can be more based on your personal perception of Virgo, where it is in your astrology wheel and everything else. So take my recommendations, play with it. If you like them, definitely try it out. I will have my Virgo season oracle reading on my Instagram at LunaSarahNova if you'd like to try to hear what Spirit has to say for all of us collectively. And I think that on my Patreon, we're going to start to do a monthly per zodiac season book club. So each time we go into a new sign, we're going to read a witchy book based on the energies of that season. I don't think we've decided what to read yet, but I do think we're going in for like house magic, like organization stuff. I really think house magic's gonna be like the winner. I have like what is the book? I honestly have so many house magic books because I really love making the vibe immaculate. So that is not decided yet, but that will be on my Patreon soon, so head over there if you're wanting to join in on that book club. Otherwise, that is all from me. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I love you all so much, and I will see you next time. Bye!